Hey Vanner Lovers, Jordan Lumen here with Vanner Lover TV, and today we're going to talk about buying a horse. Alrighty Vanner Lovers, so I have 5 questions that I feel one needs to reflect on in order to be prepared to buy a horse. Hi Ginger. Ginger says hi. Alrighty, we are going to start with number 5. And number 5 is, why do you want to own a horse? Not me, not anybody else. Why do you want to own a horse? Some reasons might seem frivolous to others, and other reasons might seem more meaningful to them. But I want you to take a moment to yourself and figure out why you want to own a horse. Forget the naysayers and the people who think they know what you want or need. I hear things like, buying a horse is stupid, and it's a money pit, and horses are useless, all the time. Usually these discouragements come from people who don't like horses. Surprise, surprise. What I have to say to that is, ain't nobody got time for that kind of hate. Owning a horse is a lifetime commitment of 20 to 30 years in a lot of cases. And so, if you're going to own a horse, there's no room for guilt. I also hear things like, don't get a foal because foals aren't trained, and you need a trained horse to feel safe and secure around horses. These remarks usually come from people who don't understand my personal wants and desires involving horses, nor do they have any idea what my experience is with horses. And as much as I poke fun at it, these suggestions may not fit me and my desires, but they might fit yours. And and very well a foal may not be good for you, but I know what I want. But this is about what you want. So the point of this exercise is to make you realize why you want a horse, other than just I want a horse. Not why anyone else wants you to have a horse or wants you to have a horse or the way they think you should have a horse. This is why you want a horse. Really put pen to paper and list out all of the reasons why you want a horse. I don't care if it's just because they are pretty, or if it's because you want to provide a good home to a rescue horse. Write it all down. It will help you in finding the right horse for you. So this brings me to question number 4. So we're on number 4 now. And number 4's question is, what kind of horse do you want? So I know this is similar to the previous question, but it actually helps to narrow down your wants and desires. Especially if you're someone like me who gets distracted by all the shiny. Things to consider when you answer this question come in 3 categories. Age and appearance, which is breed, pedigree, height, age, sex, color, etc. Things like that. Training and accomplishments, which, like, do you want a show horse? Do you want a grand champion? Do you want something that's easy to handle? Do you want something that's trained in English or trained in Western or trained in driving or has no training whatsoever or has some trick training background? Maybe even a horse who has reputable offspring and they're a reputable producer. Is that a requirement for you? Is that something that you want in a horse that you're going to buy? So consider all of those things in the training and accomplishment section. And then there's personality and potential. This is, for potential breeding stock, if that's the way you want to go. Loves scratches, loves to be touched, loves to be handled, goofy, smart, great with kids, husband safe, great with other horses, things like that. So that's the 3rd category. I want you to make a list of at least 5 things in each category that you want, and then I want you to choose 3 to 5 things total out of all 15 things that you list that you cannot live without. Those are your must-have. Also, what should be included here is what you don't want in a horse. So I also want you to make a list of what you do not want, and I want you to choose 3 to 5 things that are absolute deal breakers. All of this will help you narrow down and find that perfect horse for you, I promise. So number 3 in our list of questions here is, How are you going to provide living arrangements for your new horse? This is a boarding versus keeping it at home sort of question. Even if you have land and space to keep a horse, you need to be aware of zoning laws, what your neighbors think, waste removal, supply and delivery, and the overall cost of keeping your facilities up and running smoothly. Not to mention the expense of never having a holiday without hiring help, and no sick days either. Boarding a horse at a full care facility or at one that you can come and care for your own horse may be a great option, even if you have the land and space to have one at home, especially if they can get a farrier and vet discount. And that depends on kind of where you are in the country and whether you're in the city or in the suburbs or in the country. Sometimes finding a farrier is really hard, and finding a really good farrier is even harder. And finding a vet that you feel comfortable with, that can be an issue too. And the boarding facilities, they all know where all that stuff is, so it's a great way to be able to network. And in a lot of cases, vets and farriers offer like a small discount in those situations, because there's a lot more business for them at those places than just going to one place and doing a couple of horses. So it might seem like an unnecessary expense or a high cost expense, but I urge you to do the work and to calculate everything and see what is overall best for you and your new horse, whether it is keeping it at home or boarding it at a facility. Bonus, if you have land and want to keep a horse, or 12, with you at home and you don't have facilities designed yet, I will have a video later that will address some tips and suggestions in designing your barn and your equestrian facilities. This video will come later after the Buying Horses series. Alrighty, we are down to question number 2 of important questions that you should be asking yourself should you want to own a horse. Number 2 is a little morbid, but I think it's necessary. So the question is, who is going to care for your horse should you die or become extremely ill, or circumstances change and the horse can no longer be yours? And like I said, I know this is a bit bleak to think about. However, I think it is important for one to consider before buying a horse. I'm horse crazy, and I assume if you are watching this, then you are too. And I'm going to go out on a giant limb and say that your family is very likely not horse crazy like you are, because that's how it is with my family. So if something were to happen to me and I had a horse, my family wouldn't know what to do with it. Even if I were to become sick or ill, if I'm not dead, that still requires someone else to take care of my horse. And most people in my family, they're not going to want to take care of my horse. And, I might be lucky enough to have a friend who might, but, that's even a precarious sort of situation. I know that in my ideal sort of scenario is that when I do buy from a breeder, that there is some sort of arrangement to where if something were to happen like that, then the horse could go back to the breeder. So I would hope that would be able to happen. Although you can't really count on that either, because things happen. Life goes on. People go in and out of horse breeding all the time. If the breeder is no longer able to take on the horse, then perhaps a friend will want to inherit my horse. But that can, like I said, be a fickle sort of situation. And so think on it carefully and ask around. The best way to sort of find out for yourself firsthand on what happens to horses when their passionate owners die is to go visit a sanctuary where people rescue horses. And, really talk to the people who take care of these horses that end up being abandoned and neglected and abused because of similar situations like that. Ask them, sort of, what other people have done and maybe some good routes to take, because they may know a great way for you to be able to put a plan in place in case something were to happen. Now, if you go visit one of those places, don't blame me if you fall in love with one of those horses and that ends up being your dream horse. Now we are down to the last question. Question number 1. Now that you have calculated the cost of ownership on a long committed period of time, which is roughly a third of your life for this one horse, if you aren't scared off, then now you need to consider what your budget is to buy a horse. Now, depending on your answers to the previously mentioned questions and exercises, prices will vary greatly, from free to multi-millions. This is where I'm going to get breed specific in my breed of preference, as breed is very important to me. So I'm going to make it relatable to me for my examples here. In case you can't already tell, the Gypsy Vanner horse is my breed of choice, and I have wholeheartedly committed to it. Prices in this breed vary widely based on several factors, just like they would for any other breed of horse. From what I've seen and asked about, the price range for purebred Gypsy Vanner Horse Society registered and listed for sale horses are $4,500 to $50,000. I haven't seen any listed below $4,500 that meet that criteria. But that's a huge spread. And if you want to kind of put these things in perspective, it's not as huge as the spread that you see in quarter horses. Those go from anywhere from a few $100s to upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And quarter horse price ranges are based off of the very same factors that the Gypsy Vanner horse or any breed is based off of. So after you have your budget or what you need to save for based on your must-have, what's available, and your do not wants, now it's time for me to tell you everything you know about the price of a horse. Where I lost my Bandiana. Alright. You ready for this? Alright. Everything you need to know about the price of a horse is that the price of a horse is only an agreement between buyer and seller. That's it. People will always be quick to tell you that you paid too much for the horse that you want, before they tell you that you got a great deal, no matter what the horse cost you. It could have been a couple $100, could have been a few grand. Whatever the horse cost you, people will always tell you spent way too much on the horse before they'll tell you that you got a good deal. In my opinion, the sale price of a horse doesn't have a huge impact on whether or not I will want to buy that horse, should the funds be available. Now, I am willing to wait and save for what I want, and great deals come along every day. You just have to be looking for them. Tomorrow, I am going to dig really deep into the sale prices of horses, and I believe it will be a valuable tool for evaluating any horse, even a free one. Alrighty, Vanner lovers, I think that's it for today. I do have a question of the day for you guys, and that question is, what would you like to see in the new Buying a Horse series? Do you have any questions that you want answered? Leave them in the comment section down below, and maybe I'll be able to answer them in my series. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. There's a little thumbs up button that you can click. And leave a comment down below to tell me what you liked about this video and answer the question of the day if you feel like it, and to ask me any questions that you might have. I might answer them in a future video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you already haven't. That way you do not miss an episode. And if you have Facebook, you can find us there in the link in the description box. I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye, Vanner lovers.